Hello and welcome to this fourth lesson in the Year 7 Computer Systems unit of work. A couple of lessons ago we spoke about Archie, and Archie was our cartoon character who represented a computer's architecture. Pause the video at this point, and before you move on, can you quickly remind yourself what are the labels for Archie? The labels are on your screen. What should they be labelled? What are the headings for each section? Pause the video at this point, give yourself 2 minutes to get warmed up and see if you could fill in those blanks. So as I said, this is the fourth lesson in the Year 7 Computer Systems series of work, and in this lesson we're going to be looking at creating a spreadsheet to budget a computer build of our own. By the end of the lesson, you will understand what the key components of a computer system are. You better use your knowledge to shop for key components online, and then we're going to use Microsoft Excel to create ourselves a shopping list and a budget for our computer build. This is Archie. Archie was that cartoon character that we used to represent the parts of a computer. These are the labels you should have got as part of your Do Now task. So Microsoft Excel is an example of a spreadsheet application. Spreadsheets are used to format and store data, usually numerical data such as budgets and accounts. It allows us to automatically store data in a table or a very organized format. They can automatically undertake complex calculations for us, for example working out the total or the average of a shopping list. We can also then create graphs and charts within our spreadsheet automatically. At this point, I'm going to jump on Microsoft Excel and talk you through the basic elements that we'll need to begin to budget our own computer. Now, Microsoft Excel is available for free via Office 365. If you're in school, you'll have Excel installed. If you're working from home, you'll need to find Excel online, which is available through Office 365, and I will talk you through now. So to access Microsoft Excel, you need to jump onto Office 365. Now you've got Office 365 through the right-hand side of the portal, or if you're working from another school, you'll need to check how you access Office 365. But I'm here on my Office 365 homepage, which you should all have access to. To access Microsoft Excel, I look for the Excel logo down the left-hand side. It's the green one with the X icon, and we're going to want to click Microsoft Excel, and then we're going to want to select New Blank Workbook. Now that's going to load us up in a new tab, Microsoft Excel Online. Now this is great because we get all of the functionality of Excel without needing to install anything. So if you're working from home, you don't need to email saying you haven't got Excel, it's all available online. Now you'll notice that Excel is broken down into what we call columns going down the page and rows going across the page. This allows us to create a basic table and keep our table really neat and tidy, and you can't fail to have that organized and neat and tidy. Now we know that we want to create a shopping list. So we've got a couple of things that we're going to need in our shopping list, and I'm going to create one quite similar to yours without doing it exactly the same so as to give away the answers. We're going to want a column for the item. We're probably going to want some sort of website column where we find it, maybe the model that we end up wanting to buy, and the price. And I've typed each one of those into its own cell. Because those are column headings, I'm going to highlight them and I'm going to want to make those go bold. Now, I'm then thinking about my components of Archie. Now, I know I've got a CPU, I know I've got RAM, and I know I've got the graphics card. However, when I type in graphics card, you'll notice that it goes outside of the row, outside of the cell. It goes across into the next cell. So I need to make column C wider. Now you can do that by moving your mouse to the top, clicking in between the two cells, in between C and D, and you'll notice that your mouse changes. You can then click and drag your column wider if you need to. We're also going to need a storage device, so we're going to want a hard drive. We're going to want some input devices, so I'm going to want a keyboard for sure, and I'm probably going to want a mouse. And we're going to want an output device, probably in the form of a screen. Now you might go and find speakers and stuff as well if you want to, but that at the moment is going to be enough for me. I now want to put a title going right the way across the top of my page, and I want my title to take up all of those cells there. If I put my title in here, it doesn't really look like a title because it's over the side and it's too small. Highlight where you want your title to go, and we're looking for the icon at the top which says merge when we hover on it, and it's going to knock that cell, all of those cells, into one large cell. So I'm clicking the merge button with those highlighted, and I can now see that I've got one big cell where I can add my title of my computer budget. Now I've made a slight mistake in my writing there. If that happens, click in the cell, and at the top there you can jump in and correct it. I'm going to want to make my font slightly bigger, size 16, and again I might make that bold. Here's my basic budget setup. It's not looking all that great at the moment. So I'd like to put some darker lines in this section of my table, the section where all of my information is going to go. Highlight it, and with this icon, the borders icon, you can select a variety of different borders. Now I'm going to choose the one that turns all of them on, and I'm then going to make my columns just slightly wider so they've got plenty of space. I'm also going to put a border around my title cell, so I've got that one in place. I'm then going to highlight all of this, which is going to be sort of my total budget, and that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, I wanted to put one border around the outside. Whenever something like that happens, just click the undo button. Instead, I'm going to click on borders, and I'm going to put a thick border right the way around the outside of my budget. Last thing I'm going to do for now is to add some basic colour. I don't want this to look really garish with lots of different colours, but I'm going to highlight my column headings, and I'm going to create those as sort of a mid blue. My cells where my data is going to go are going to be a slightly lighter blue, and I'm going to make my title a darker one again. And there I've got my basic budget now set up. So at this point we're going to jump back onto the PowerPoint and look at the activity that you need to do. So with your newfound Excel skills, we're going to set up a basic budget for a computer, and it's going to look something like my one below. We're going to need all of the elements of Archie, so the CPU, RAM, graphics card, storage device, input device, probably a mouse or a keyboard, and then an output device, which will probably be a screen. You're going to need columns for the supplier, the model, and the cost, but you're not going to fill those in yet. Pause the video at this point and have a go at creating your own budget similar to the one on the previous slide. You need to make sure you use some formatting tools to make it easy to read, for example putting cell borders or different colours for the different columns without it looking like a leprechaun has just spewed up all over the page. Pause the video at this point and have a go at creating your basic budget. So we've now got our basic budget in place, and we've got the table available where in a minute we'll go and shop for our different parts. When you're doing your shopping though, you're going to need a few more skills because you're going to need to know how to change the data type within Excel. So I'm going to jump back onto Excel now and talk you through how you can enter your items once you go and shop for them in a moment. Now let's pretend in a minute I found my CPU on Amazon. So in my website column, I'm going to type in www.amazon.co.uk. We know how to make our cells wider, so that bit's great. I'm going to assume that I found an Intel i7 processor, and that one costs £89.99. Now, when you type that in, it's really important you don't write the pound symbol in. Okay, you're going to want to write that as a number. You're then going to jump up to the top up here where you've got the number format. Now, this is where we tell Excel what type of data that is. And I'm going to jump up and set that to currency. Now, annoyingly, you're going to notice that then defaults to $89 rather than £89. Click in the cell, right click and go to number format. At that point we need to tell the computer that this is definitely English pounds we're looking for. Now you get a long old list here, but you'll find about quarter of the way down you'll find English United Kingdom. Tell the computer that it's pounds you're working in and press OK. Now, you can then find your next item, and let's pretend that one was $99.99. And we're going to need to do the same again and go up and say that it's currency, and oh no, it's gone back to dollars. So your best bet when you change your data type is to highlight all of them that you know are going to be numbers, set them all to currency, and then set all of them to be our English pound. Okay, and that should then allow you to quite quickly make all of your items in English pounds, which we want. The last thing I'm quickly just going to show you is how to align the text in a slightly different way. For example, my budget here is at the bottom of the cell. Okay, it's in the middle, but it's at the bottom. If you click in that one and then select your text alignment tool, you can decide whether you want your text in the middle, the top, or the bottom of each cell. Now I'm going to put mine in the middle for my title. I'm going to make my item be on the left, my prices all be on the right, which they pretty much will default to, and then I'm going to center the middle ones to make my spreadsheet hopefully look as attractive as possible. I'll make that a little bit wider, and then hopefully my spreadsheet looks fairly good. I've got my details all on the left, where I'm finding it all centered, and the prices all to the right. Going to jump back onto PowerPoint now, and then you're going to have 10 minutes or so to start your shopping list. So we're now ready to do our shopping. We need to jump on the internet and we need to go and find components for our computer. Now, stores such as Amazon, eBuyer and Novatech are going to be really useful here. Those are 3 companies that sell lots of computer components, and you'll definitely be able to find things like a CPU and RAM on those websites. Now, it's up to you how you do your budget. You could look for the cheapest possible computer you can find. You could go extravagant and find the most expensive items you can find, or you might go somewhere in between. So I'd like you to pause the video at this point and have a go at your shopping task for your computer. I'd like you to use the internet to find all of the parts you require. I'd then like you to add them into your spreadsheet, noting down the item and its price. Ideally, you'd note down the supplier as well, so you can remember what website each item comes from. You're then going to need to use the data type selection to change all of your money values so that they are formatted as currency. Pause the video at this point and give yourself about 15-20 minutes to do as much shopping as you can. Now we've got most of the components for our PC now. There are, however, a couple missing that aren't a part of our Archie character. The motherboard is where all of the bits of Archie plug in. You can imagine that as kind of Archie's spine. It's the thing where all of his arms and legs connect into. In a minute, we're going to need to go online and find ourselves a motherboard. You're going to need a power supply unit, or a PSU. That's the thing that you plug the power into at the back of the PC. We're also going to need a case. Now you can get all sorts of different cases, from really small cases to really big ones, to ones with LED lights and things like that in them as sort of gaming cases. But we're going to need a case because if we don't, our computer parts are all just going to be sort of let out on our desk and they'll get broken. Now I'm going to jump back onto Excel very quickly and talk you through now how you can add in different rows to allow you to add in more data, and then you're going to want to jump onto stores such as Amazon, eBuyer and Novatech again to find those parts. Now I've been fairly lazy with mine. I've found all of my items on Amazon and I've not really put my models in, but I've got all of my prices. But we now know that we're going to need a case and that we're going to need a few other parts as well, such as a power supply as well. You'll notice that I've run out of space on my budget. The way I'd set mine up, I haven't got enough space and my border's going to go wrong if I then add the next one in there. However, if you click on, say, row 12 or whatever your bottom one is, you can right click and go insert row, and that's going to insert you new rows above for your remaining items. Okay, so I can then highlight all of that and I can quickly redo my borders, and you might need to redo your shading as well, but that will allow you to extend on your budget as you need to. Okay, so to do that you can right click on any cell and go insert. So we know that we're going to need a motherboard, we're going to need a power supply unit or a PSU, and we're going to need our case. And that will allow you then to add those in and continue on your budget. You can right click, insert rows, and if you do too many, right click, delete rows to get rid. So you should now know how to add in those extra rows that we're going to need. Pause the video at this point and see if you can go online and find the parts we spoke about in the previous slide. You're going to need a motherboard, a power supply, and a case. So hopefully you're now at the point where you've got a pretty much completed budget. We're now going to quickly look at some of the advanced functions of Excel. One of the reasons Excel is so useful is that it can automatically undertake things like calculations for us. It can work out the average price of our products, the minimum and maximum products, the sum or the total of our shopping lists so far. Now these are called formulae, and it's one of the reasons Excel is really useful and heavily used in business. I'm going to jump back onto Excel at this point and show you how you can add a basic formula into your spreadsheet. Now for that I'm going to need to add myself some new rows and I'm going to insert a couple of new rows, and you can do that if you want to insert more. You can sort of highlight more and then continue to press insert. Now I'm going to want to add in my total price because I need to know the total of my shopping list. I want to know the average cost. I'm going to work out what my minimum item is, and I'm going to work out what my maximum item is. So the first thing you're going to want to do is to set up those different elements, and you might decide you're going to leave a little bit of a gap, something like this between your sort of actual list and then where your formulae are going to go. Okay, so I've now pretty much set up. I wanted to set that to transparent, not white. You've now pretty much set up my area. Okay, so I need to add my total in there, my average, my min, and my max. The good news is we don't really need to do anything because Excel can do it for us. Up in the top right, you've got this auto sum or formulae icon. And if we click on that, we can find a range of formulae or functions. Now, sum is the one we're going to want to add up our total. So you're going to click in your total box where you want the answer to go. You're going to drop click and you're going to select sum. And you're then going to highlight with the sort of fuzzy line all of the numbers you want to add up. So it wouldn't be those because that would be too many cells. It wouldn't be those. It wouldn't be those. You're going to want to highlight all of those. Hit enter on your keyboard and Excel is automatically going to work out your total price. The nice thing is that if you decide you're going to update one of your item prices, the total will automatically update. The total is always going to be correct no matter what happens to your numbers up above. Same for average. I'm going to click in my average box. I'm going to drop click on auto sum and I'm going to select average. That's going to work out my average price. Be careful. By default, it's going to select totally the wrong cells. You want to be working out the average of all of these. Highlight, press enter, and I can see that my average item in my shopping lists costs £38.99. Min, well, the min function is going to work out what is the cheapest item. £2.99, and that is for my fairly cheap keyboard. And then the same for max. That will allow you to work out what the most expensive item is in your shopping basket. And for me, that is my RAM at £99.99. So those are all called formulae. They're really useful because if we update our spreadsheet, they're automatically going to update themselves. It will work as a running total, and that's what makes Excel so good for creating things like budgets. So you're now ready to finish off your budget. I'd like you to add in as many of the functions that I've just talked you through as you can to complete your spreadsheet. If you finish, you can finish off the formatting and check and maybe add an image in as a bit of a logo onto your spreadsheet. Give yourself the last 10 minutes of this lesson to add in as many formulae as you can. So hopefully you've got a budget that looks something like this. This is kind of what we're aiming for. Now I've missed out the model. I haven't added my models in, but I've got my various different elements that I need and all of the prices. I've then used a formula to work out the total, the average, the most expensive and the least expensive items. Hopefully yours looks something like that. If not, you can go back and update yours if you need. So hopefully from this video you now understand you remembered what the key components of Archie are, what a key component of the computer systems are. Hopefully you've been able to use that knowledge to shop for some of those components, and you found the sort of prices that a computer, those different elements cost within a computer system, and then you've been able to create a basic spreadsheet using Microsoft Excel. If you have any questions, as always, please post those either below or directly onto your Google Classroom for your teacher to answer. Thank you very much for watching.